Welcome to Anselmo Academy of Music and the Arts, and we are live on Facebook and sending you greetings from New York City. Today, we have special guest, jazz pianist, composer, and a very good friend, Claude Diallo, who is joining us from Switzerland to share his story, passions through conversation, pictures, and videos. A warm welcome to you, Claude.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for joining us. We will feature Claude performance videos and picture gallery and a dialogue in just a moment. But first, a few announcements about our upcoming events. Our 5th International Youth Competition is still in motion, so to speak. We are excited about upcoming winners' concerts on March 12th at Symphony Space, and we are sending warm greetings and congratulations to all prize and award winners and everyone who participated. Bravo. We also are organizing gifted and talented events that are scheduled on the same date, March 12th, also at Symphony Space earlier in the day. And we do have a couple of spots still available for late morning recital. So if you're interested, shoot us a note and we'll be able to assist you with signing up. Great. Our winter spring enrollment is open and is ongoing with various offerings in music instruments and theater. And we are actively connecting with multiple school sites throughout New York and New Jersey to continue with the implementation of our programs. Stay tuned as we arrange more broadcasts with various competition winners from our current competition for this coming spring and summer. And that's about it. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, TikTok, and other social media platforms. Comment and post any questions. And subscribe to our 2 e-newsletters that you can find at anselmoacademy.org homepage. On the very bottom right, we have you can subscribe to 2 e-newsletters. One is called Academic Newsletter, and the second one is called On Stage. And this way you can stay in touch with us and see all the events and happening that are arranged with the Anselmo Academy. We hope you enjoy our program today. Okay, great. Claude doesn't need much introduction, but I was just reading a message from our tech person who is having issues, so hopefully we're still live. Claude Diallo is an old friend. We met in New York. He is internationally recognized jazz pianist and composer. He is a world traveler and passionate advocate for music. And we'd like to begin with the first video that Claude shared with us, is Traveling with Music. It's a little clip about his life where he talks about, what he does and a little bit about his life. Take a look.
My name is Claude Diallo. I'm a jazz pianist and composer, and after having worked in New York for many years, I moved back to my native Switzerland. My music reflects stories of my life. I compose inspired by people, places I visited, or events that happened in my life. Traveling with music is my motto, and I enjoy sharing my music with other cultures around the world. I'm also drawn to the cultural heritage jazz gave to the world, and I enjoy playing standard repertoire. And together with my original compositions, my music nicely blends into today's international jazz scene. What is jazz to me? Jazz is not just a musical style, it's a life philosophy. It's a current state of being, it's a state of mind. To me, jazz can be sad, can be rebellious, but at the same time, it gives me positive energy, positive vibes. It makes me happy. If I think of it, to me, jazz also gives me this energy that you need to continue this never-ending musical adventure?
Wonderful. I love this video. Thanks so much for sharing. And we're going to move right ahead to the performance video that we have of Claude performing kind of like a duo piano performance with Dado Maroni, who is a well-known Italian jazz pianist. And they are together performing My Romance by Richard Rodgers. Take a look. Fantastic video. Congratulations, Claude. Okay, so I read obviously your bio, and I'll start with some questions which give you a platform to speak, freely about your life. I'd like to start from 2007, which is the year that you formed your trio that exists today, and maybe talk a little bit about that time, how it came about, and then take us to today, as to what you do today, where you perform, where you play, what are your dreams, goals, etc. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Vera, for the invitation. It's such a nice way to reconnect after all these years. And 2007 was an important year in my career, because that was the year I was done with Berklee College of Music, but I was still staying in Boston. So I haven't moved to New York yet. So I had this connection to the school, and my one of my best musician friends from Switzerland, Massimo Buonanno, the drummer of my trio Claude Diallo Situation, was still studying at Berklee College of Music in Boston. And Massimo and we already started a trio called Claude Diallo Trio around 2002, 2003-ish. But then we needed a bass player in the United States because the bass player we had was still in Switzerland. And then that's where the French bass player, electric bass player, Laurent Salzar, came into play. He was also a student at Berklee College of Music. And when I work with trios, I always either ask the bass player which drummer to choose, or I ask the drummer which bass player to choose, because for me, it's very important that they really match. They need to be friends. They need to connect on a social level, but also on a musical level. And then Massimo recommended Laurent, and was a beautiful friendship from 2007 until 2016. So up to 2016, I was working with those three, and it was a fantastic time. So that's how Claude Diallo got created. But at the beginning, it was called Claude Diallo Trio, not Claude Diallo Situation. The Situation part came in on a tour we had in Asia, and this tour was a nightmare. We had all these, everything that can go wrong went wrong, and at the end, Massimo, the drummer, he just had enough. And then when something else happened, he said, "That's just another Claude Diallo Situation." And I said, "That's great. You just got our band name, because there are thousands of such and such trio, such and such quartet." So we thought with the word situation, we really stick out. And what's beautiful about the word situation is it works in it's trilingual, right? In German, French, but also in English. So it's kind of an international wording. And I'm still going with that name till today. And I mean, the question was like, what happened with the trio? I often lose myself in the question. Can you tell me again what the other part of the question was? Yeah.
Sure. So since that was established, your Claude Trio Situation, tell us a little bit about what you do today, where you perform, where you travel, etc.
Yeah, well, today I'm doing the same I tried to do then, which is traveling with music. That's my motto. That's also my career motto, traveling with music. I try to travel to different countries and places in the world to present my music. And just before the pandemic, I did it quite successfully. And then, of course, I don't have to go into detail. Everybody knows what happened then. And I slowly start to rebuild that. So, for example, this year I'm invited to play in Senegal, in Africa, for the first time in my life. So I'm going there for a festival, and I also have invitations to go to Indonesia this summer. And I mean, basically, I'm trying to establish my career here in Switzerland still, because I've been away from Switzerland for 14 years. So that's a long time. So I came back in 2018, and I'm still trying, to connect to certain people here in Switzerland. But at the same time, I'm maintaining my international network, which I built while I was living in New York. And that's going really well. I mean, I have friends all over the world, and I feel really connected to the world. And for me, that's very important as a jazz musician. So we do have a new album coming out in April. It's called 1111. It's with Claude Diallo Situation, and it will be released through an American record label, which happens to be in New York. It's called Dog Time Records. And I'm very excited about this recording. It's not with Massimo and Laurent, it's with Lucas Curtis on bass and Tupac Mantija. Because after 2016, I realized that I wanted to switch from electric bass to upright bass. So the music I was composing was asking for the sound of the upright bass. And that's why I chose Lucas Curtis, who won several Grammys already. He lives in New Jersey right now, but he was in Boston while I was studying there. And we also played a lot with Claude Diallo Trio before I founded Claude Diallo Situation. And the percussion player, Tupac Mantija, originally comes from Colombia, but he lives in Hamburg, in Germany. And he also used to study in Boston while I was there, but we haven't played during that time. So after 20 years of knowing each other, we finally got to play in 2021 when we recorded the new album as well. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit also about how pandemic, since you brought that up, how did pandemic affect your world as a jazz musician and pianist in Europe, in Switzerland? What was happening during pandemic?
Yeah, well, I have to say it had positive and negative aspects. So I start with the positive. The positive aspects of Corona for me was I had plenty of time with my family, because normally as a jazz musician, you always travel, you're not at home at night. And right now I'm having a 5-year-old son. His name is Leo. And I was really blessed that I was suddenly stuck at home, like where I had to spend time with the family, and it was great. I was here all the time. And another thing that I felt was positive was the whole profession of being a musician suddenly got politically addressed. Before it was like, yeah, the musicians, what do they want? Kind of a little bit, And suddenly during the pandemic, like in Switzerland, we had this union, like in the States of the Union, and the musicians union really did a lot of work for us. They went to the government and they said, hey, you have to help, you have to consider us as a real profession as well. And I was really impressed by the Swiss government, how they handled that, because we musicians, we got monthly salaries for not being able to play. So that was really a positive experience, to be able to compose, to be at home, compose, doing live streams. Through the pandemic, I created a new project where I was doing live streaming, and that was all really successful. And of course, the negative effects was like kind of being isolated, not being able to travel, not being able to invite my band from New York to come and play here. I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but the album that we released in 2020 with the drummer Andy Bauer was released, but I haven't seen Andy Bauer live since then. And that's unbelievable. I mean, so we released an album and we haven't played ever since. So yeah, that was sad. That was the sad aspect of it. But luckily, my family and I, all my inner circle, my friends, we were not severely hurt by Corona. But I've heard of other people who were not that lucky. So I feel sorry for them. Yeah.
Of course. We're going to take a quick break from conversation.
Sure.
And we're going to feature our next video where Claude performs duo on one piano with a well-known artist, Chick Corea. Take a look.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit about what you just performed on that video and your relationship with this artist.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to say I'm really blessed. This is a double blessing because A, that he invited me to play with him that day, and B, that my friend who was with me in the audience took a video of it, which normally is illegal, right? To take videos at concerts. But this was really an amazing experience, like for me, because Chick Corea and I, we've known each other for many years, but I mean, in a sense of I'm a fan and he's the great artist. I mean, for those of you who watch this who do not know who Chick Corea was, he was like one of the most achieved jazz pianists in the world. Like he was nominated for 63 Grammys and won 24 in his lifetime. And sadly, he passed away with 79 years in February 2021, so exactly 2 years ago. And that day, I had a ticket for his concert. And when I entered the hall, like a lady said, "Would you like to sit on stage next to Chick Corea?" And I thought she was joking. But apparently, Chick Corea enjoyed having an audience behind the piano. So he didn't like this, I'm here on the piano and the audience is there. He wanted to be surrounded by the audience. So I thought that's amazing. So I'm taking this chance. And then during the intermission, he was not going backstage. He was still staying at the piano, doing something. So I took the opportunity and went there and we talked a little bit. And he remembered me from the time in America. And then in the second half of the show, he suddenly addressed the audience and said, "Is there anyone in the audience who would enjoy playing with me right now?" And the audience was so shocked, nobody dared to say anything. Like probably people were not aware that this was a serious question. So nobody answered the call. And then when he saw that nobody will answer, he knew that I was a pianist and I was sitting next to him. So he looked at me and was like, "Do you want to do it?" And of course, I couldn't refuse that chance. And some people in the audience said, "We practiced this." Like they said, "There's no chance you guys improvised on the spot. Like this sounded like a rehearsal." But it is true. Like it was just spontaneous improvisation. But of course, on the highest level that exists, because he was the top master. He was like the Horowitz of the jazz pianists,
Yeah.
just to make an example. Yeah. So
Exactly.
I was really blessed to be able to share this moment. Yeah.
Great. So next question from your bio. Take us to the time that you first arrived, I guess, to US, and you went to Berkeley College. And then after Berkeley College in Boston, you went to Queens College to continue your education. Talk to us about those times as a young musician.
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember clearly the day, it was August 25th, when I landed in the United States in 2004. And I was so excited. You can't believe it. Like this was the peak of my life. Like it was so amazing that I was able to study music in the United States. Because this is not, it's not only about the talent, as you know, it's very expensive. Like education in the United States can be very expensive if you don't have a scholarship. So I was lucky. I got a scholarship. I got support from different organizations and the Rotary Club. So at the beginning, the Rotary Club really helped me out a lot to establish myself as a young artist in the United States. And these 2 years, like I was there from August 2004 until December 2006 at Berklee College of Music. And this is just a time I would love I wouldn't dare to miss, so it was like really a highlight in my life, all these encounters with musicians from all around the world and these amazing professors. And what I really liked about this mentality of this school, Berklee College of Music, was that you were not labeled from where you're from. Like in Switzerland, people label you very quickly. Like they go like, you're from St. Gallen, and you're from Zurich, and you're as if that matters, right? But apparently it does in Switzerland. But in the States, it was not a problem if you were from Afghanistan or Japan or Switzerland. They just looked at your talent, like you as a human being. And it was very supportive. It was very supportive. Like there was no professor who kind of felt jealous if you had skills that, but I hear a lot, especially in Europe, that sometimes at these conservatories or music universities, there could be a jealousy between a professor and a student, or like where the professor is not fully behind the student and happy for his success. But I really felt that in Boston I had full support, and I met so many great people, which I'm still connected today.
Why
That
don't
was
you
great.
tell us who your teachers were?
Yeah, of course. So my main teacher was Raymond Santisi. He was kind of a teacher legend there. He played with Charlie Parker, with Ella Fitzgerald. Like he was already, probably he was about 72, I guess. Like I don't really know, but probably when I started with him, he was already 72. And he was just a fantastic piano teacher. I mean, all the things he knew and the way he could show them to you was really fantastic. Like I couldn't have imagined to have a better teacher than this person. And I also had a couple semesters with this jazz superstar called Danilo Perez. And those who know jazz did surely know him. That was interesting. That was kind of another aspect of teaching. Was not about the details, was more like about the whole, like seeing the music as a whole and things like that. And then I had one semester with a Finnish composer by the name of Frank Karlberg. That was completely different again and was also very inspiring, but just this one semester. And besides being at Berklee College of Music, I also went for private lessons with Charlie Banacos, who was among one of the best teachers in the world for what I'm doing. So that was amazing. And then I went to New York. After Boston, I stayed in Boston for another year. And then I had to go back to Switzerland because my visa expired. So I had two choices. One was to get a working visa or to continue my studies. So I decided to do a master's at the Aaron Copland School of Music, which is among the Queen's College campus thing. Yeah. And there I had David Berkman. There, my final teacher, as a student, was David Berkman, who is an established New York jazz pianist. And that was very, very good too. I really liked the way he was teaching. He gave me the last finish, kind of, the polish, or how do you say that? The last thing I've needed to really survive in New York. Like you could put it that way. But those years in the States, I would never dare missing them, really. And if I would go again, surely I would do many things differently, probably. But I think it was good. The way it happened was great. Yeah.
Wonderful. I prepared some questions for you.
Oh, yeah.
And like for you to answer them the best way you can. So first question, musical influences. So I guess it would be good to start maybe what inspired you to be, who inspired you to be a jazz musician?
Mm-hmm. So that answer is very easy. Definitely Oscar Peterson. When I was 13 years old, I started playing piano when I was 5, and I had classical training. And then I asked my piano teacher when I was 13, is there anyone else? Is there anything else than classical music and pop music? And then she said, yeah, there's a thing called jazz. And then she said, check out this Oscar Peterson. Like, she gave me this book, Exercises for the Young Jazz Pianist, volume 1 through 3. And after having heard those sounds, I went to the record store and I asked the guy if they have a thing called jazz and Oscar Peterson, and the guy said, well, we have a whole section full of these. And I was so shocked that there were like 100 Oscar Peterson CDs that I totally lost time, and I forgot to tell my parents that I would go to a record store. So they were really worried because I didn't go home after the music class, so I spent the rest of the day at the music store, and they called the police, like saying like, we don't know where our child is, and that was really funny. That was my beginning into jazz. So definitely Oscar Peterson, and of other pianists, Herbie Hancock, Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea, obviously, and Bill Evans. I would mention these as my major influences as a pianist. But of course, in jazz, you're also influenced by bands or other musicians. And another major influence on me was this Cameroonian electric bass player by the name of Richard Bona. I really enjoy his music, and the Yellow Jackets. I don't know if you know the Yellow Jackets. They're really amazing. Like, these were my major influences among many others.
Great. Next question. What is the most difficult thing about being a musician?
Yeah, for me, I mean, that obviously for every musician, that's a different answer. But for me, it's definitely having to deal with all these different organizers, you know, like festival organizers, club organizers, booking agents, like, you know, that to me is really something that if I could skip that, I would love to skip it and rather be at the piano and practice. That can be very annoying depending on with whom you have to deal with. And luckily right now I have a representation by Marita Goga. She's in Berlin, and she's really helping me a lot with that, because this takes hours per day. Like, you know, to call back and write a contract, send it, and then something doesn't work and it gets canceled. And yeah, so dealing with those people behind the scenes, that's really annoying. I mean, my experience. So
it's called live, actually, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Every profession has that. Yeah.
Okay, next question. If you could play anywhere, where would it be?
Definitely Japan. You mean fly as a tourist or to play a concert?
No, play a concert. Yeah.
I play a concert. Yeah, definitely Japan. I've visited Japan since 2013 up to the pandemic, and there it's really magic for jazz. Like, it's a different universe. And if I could choose in Japan, I would love to go to a remote island or something. You know, like I really like the Japanese culture and the way they experience jazz, and also their appreciation towards jazz is completely different than within the US or within Europe. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, great. Next question. What was the best advice someone gave you while you still were getting started?
Let me think. Well, here again, many possibilities, but one that really stuck with me and really helped me to establish my career was one of my final professors, Michael Mossman. Like, Michael Mossman was the chair of the jazz department at the Aaron Copland School of Music, and he also gave music business classes. And one thing he told us is, instead of standing in an existing line waiting for something to happen, create your own line and be the first in that line. And I was able to transfer this metaphor to my real life, because I created an organization called Eastern Switzerland Jazz Collective. And what we do is we organize jazz jam sessions for musicians in the region. And I created a network of over 600 people that really take advantage of this system. But because I'm the founder, and I have this huge network where I can decide how the money is spent and all these things. So that's great. Yeah, that was true advice.
Yeah, sounds great. Any hobbies?
Well, here again, many, but my favorite hobby of all times is playing board games, believe it or not.
Right.
I even invented a board game. It's not out yet, but I founded a company with a friend, and we're going very slowly. Like, we don't want to rush things, but we created our own game and we want to put it out on the market. But yeah, playing board games.
About? What is it? Is it music related or no?
No. It's a silly card game. Like, it's really like, it's just for fun.
Sounds great. I love board games. They're fun.
Yeah, no. Playing music and playing games is very closely connected. I feel it's like people who play games are also very good at improvising and playing music most of the time. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Next question. If you could use magic to do one task, what would it be?
Well, here again, there's so many Yeah, that's a powerful question. Well, considering the difficult times we're in, I would love to be able to connect all the world with music, because music to me has no negativity in it. It's purely positive. It's a positive vibration, and I would love to be able to hex all the people in the world to enjoy music or being more aware of music, and that music makes their life more positive, and that maybe that as a result would avoid conflicts and wars. And it sounds very naive, but if I had a magical wish, then I would use it for that. Yeah.
That's beautiful. There should be maybe a vaccine for that.
Yes, even better.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Okay, and the last question, kind of silly. What is the best excuse you've heard about being late?
Yeah, well, obviously that these excuses, they come from my students. Like, I'm also teaching piano lessons here in Switzerland in a college, and I remember one student really told me that. I mean, she wasn't even late. Like, I think she canceled the class. But yeah, she said, "I'm sorry, I cannot make that class because I'm running so late. I won't make it." And then I said, "So why are you late?" And she said that her neighbor had an issue with their dog, and because she couldn't bring the 2-year-old to the veterinary, my student had to go to their house and babysit the baby until the lady is back with the dog or something like that. I mean, maybe it was true, but to me, that sounded really like the biggest excuse ever. Like, I've never heard an excuse like this. That was funny.
Kids really are the best at creating those, right?
Yeah,
don't my homework or what have you, right?
Yeah, it needs a lot of fantasy. But if you don't want to show up somewhere, then you're creative.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. We're going to move to a picture gallery now.
Oh, yeah. That too, yeah.
Pictures that Claude shared with us, and we're going to go through them, and you feel free to speak about each picture,
okay,
and where it was, etc.
Nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that one was really an interesting shot, because I didn't know there was a photographer in the audience. That's in Lucerne at the Lucerne Festival. So Lucerne Festival is a famous classical festival, but they also have a little jazz festival within the festival. And what's nice about this festival is that they invite 15 pianists from all over the world, and you perform the same night on several pianos. So they have 2 grand pianos. You can't see it on this picture, but there are 2 grand pianos. And first, each pianist plays by himself. And then at the end, there are duos. So 4 hands or 8 hands on 2 pianos and things like that. And that's really, like, I didn't know that I didn't know there's a photographer there. I was just looking into that direction just before I'm starting. And she took it. It was Manuela Jans. Manuela Jans is the photographer. Yeah. Manuela Jans. Yeah. Wonderful. Nice.
Next.
Yeah, that's a funny picture. That was my parents' house in Switzerland, where I grew up, and I spent 23 years of my life before moving to the States. And here probably was just maybe a month or 2 months before I moved to the States, and that was this time where I was practicing 8 hours a day. I mean, I know every expert would say that's silly, right? That's nonsense. Like, practicing 8 hours a day is useless. Like, but at that time, of course, I didn't know, and I knew that I have to get better. So I thought by playing more hours, I would get better. And yeah, that was really like my little universe here. I was very privileged that my parents offered this room to me. It was not even my own room. It was like more like a guest room, music study room, and I really took it. Like, I put all my instruments there, and I spent a lot of time in there. Yeah, nice memories.
Great.
Oh wow, yeah, that picture is very special to me. That the man you see here with the saxophone is a legendary saxophone player, Andy McGee. He passed a couple of years ago, almost 90. And he was a professor at Berklee College of Music. And when I met him in 2006, from that until his passing, we played a lot around the world. Like he kind of took me under his wings, and he took me to Berlin, to Paris, to Atlanta, New York, Boston, you name it. Like he really worked a lot with me. And what I like about this picture is like, here's he trying to explain something to me, like saying like, you have to play like this way. And you can see the way I look. Here I'm 23. Like that was the graduation concert or something like that in Boston, I remember. And I truly miss him. He was really an amazing musician and personality. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that one is that's a photo shoot. I did a photo shoot in my neighborhood in New York called Long Island City. Long Island City is where the Pepsi Cola sign is, probably right? I mean, for those who are not from New York, that's the neighborhood in Queens, just next to 42nd Street on the other side of the East River. And this photo is made by a great photographer by the name of Camila Doraghi. She is from Switzerland, but she happened to have an exhibition in New York, and I asked her if she'd take some photos. And these were my young, wild years, where I still had hair. Like
this is how I remember you, actually. I remember this picture.
I think when we met, when I started working for the Piano School of New York, I probably looked like that. True. Yeah.
Great shot.
Yeah.
Okay,
thanks.
next.
Yeah, here that's my Claude Diallo situation with Lucas Curtis to the right and Andy Bauer to the left. I haven't mentioned Andy Bauer at the beginning because currently he's not playing in the trio, and Tupac Mantija took his spot during the pandemic because it was difficult to travel during that time. So I needed someone who's in Europe already. And and Andy Bauer, what a great drummer. He's really great. Like his composition that's on our latest CD, Animation, our CD is called I Found a New Home. But the tune he composed, Animation's Contemplation, is now in the soundtrack of a Hollywood movie called When You Finish Saving the World. It just came to the theaters this year or last year. And that's a trio that was taken in Switzerland before a concert. And that was just before the pandemic. Yeah, that was before everything started with that. Yeah.
Great. Next.
That's the new Claude Diallo situation with Tupac Mantija, Below the Butterfly. And this is very special because this is not even published yet. This is the new cover of the album that's going to be released on April 7th. So for those who watch this, you get a glimpse at the new album. Again, with Lucas Curtis on bass and Tupac Mantija is the new drummer from Colombia. And probably this picture raises some questions like, why is there a butterfly? Why is it in a Japanese setting, with the little tree behind there, and we are kneeling like Japanese people? And then the 11/11. And I don't, do you want me to give more information now?
Please. Please share. Yeah? Because sure. after this gallery, we're gonna play your video from your album.
Of course.
11/11.
Yeah, sure.
So please tell us all about it.
Yeah, sure. So what does 11/11 mean? So I have the habit to always check my watch at 11/11. So either 11:11 a.m. or 11:11 p.m. And in order to get rid of this to me annoying habit, I composed a piece called 11/11, and it has almost all the time meters, like the like 4/4, 3/4, 5/4, 7/4, but not 11/4 or 11/8. So kind of as a protest against that. But the more universal meaning of 11/11 is a way to connect to the universe. There are some people that say that this is a number that means awakening or connecting with the universe, also synchronicity. And it really fits that CD and that album and the band very well, because we all kind of connect through this. And the butterfly is a symbol for spirituality, connecting between the two worlds, you know, the living and the dead and everything. And yeah, so this is kind of a sign of peace, because the butterfly also represents peace in many cultures, and that's why in this troubled time we wanted to put a symbol of peace on our album. So that's how this came about.
It's beautiful. I really love it.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good picture, because that shows my life when I'm on tour. That's like a typical touring picture. You know, you're somewhere. Here we are in KL, like Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and we had a concert in a beautiful concert hall sponsored by the Swiss government. So that's why there are all these Swiss flags and things. And here on stage, you can see the Swiss ambassador, and there was a person. I have to admit, I don't remember all these people, right. But the musicians, like those young people that you see, they are from Switzerland, and I also further the how to call it, the young musicians, like the way you and your organization do that in New York, I also do that in Switzerland. And if I find really talented musicians, I bring them on tour with me somewhere. Like here we were 1 week in Malaysia, and the little boy next to me at that time was 15 years old, and his name is Lukas Schambeck, really an amazing drummer. He has a big career ahead of him. And to my right is Christina Bright. She played flute, but she stopped playing. She's studying biology, I think now. But her little sister, the lady next to her, is Sophie Bright. And I happened to have a concert with her on March 9th. Like, we're still playing. Like, she's really amazing. Like, she's like multi-talented. She can play the trombone, she can play trumpet, and classical repertoire and jazz repertoire at the same level. And I think she's turning 18 this year, but she was probably 14, or I don't remember. But it was really amazing. And next to her is a local bass player from Malaysia, Marina Zaini. Yeah, these are the things why I live, what I live for, right? Those travels, going around the world, playing music with different people for different cultures. Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a nice memory. Here I was in China. That was my last tour before the pandemic. It was in 2019 in Guangzhou, in China, and there I was invited to play for a European forum. So there were musicians from different nations from Europe doing an intercultural exchange with China. And this is Dr. Deng. I think her name was Deng, D-E-N-G. And she was hosting this famous TV program in Guangzhou, not a national program, but a local program, where she invited guests like musicians and actors and things like that. And yeah, that was really a good interview. I think you can still see that online somewhere. But yeah, that was nice.
Great.
Here we go to Japan. That was Yuko Miller. I'm even wearing her T-shirt. The lady in the middle is called Yuko, and her artist name is Yuko Miller. And this was I was on tour in Japan. That was in 2018. I was on tour with this young lady, and she's really mind-blowing. Like, really, I mean, the way she plays saxophone is unbelievable. And she's wearing this funny outfit, because in Japan they have this manga culture. I don't know if you know what that is. You know, it's kind of Japanese cartoon. And unfortunately, I mean, this is something that I think is unfortunate. Like, if she would just appear as a regular woman on stage, like not disguised as this cartoon or comic thing, she wouldn't get that much attention. And I asked her why she's doing this disguise thing, and she said that's one of the ways to really making a living in Japan is not just by playing saxophone, but by also being part of this culture. So I thought I was really impressed by her, and I'm still impressed. I still owe her an invitation to Switzerland, which hasn't happened yet, but it's good. When I see this picture, I know I have to fulfill my wow. Yeah,
that is wonderful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a crazy concert in Switzerland. That's in my hometown, St. Gallen, and St. Gallen is known for crazy cultural events. Like they always have crazy ideas, And here, one of my friends, on this picture you can't really see it, but I'm really floating on a lake, so I'm not attached to the land. And so my friend put this old piano on this little raft, and people could just sit there or swim while different pianists played for them. Like every Sunday was another pianist, and that's really a nice memory. It was really nice to play in the nature, hearing the water, hearing the birds and everything. And there were about 300 people sitting around the lake listening. That was a great idea. Yeah.
Wonderful, great. Next, we're gonna
Thank
go
you, Vera.
to. Oh yes, of course. Next, we're gonna play the your trio with your band. And as you said, it's 11/11 release in April. So we're gonna take a little clip from the video you sent us.
Thank you very much.
I absolutely love it. I love your playing. It's
Thank you.
you live through music. You can just tell how much joy playing gives you. That's really
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's
Yeah.
true. Definitely with those people. Yeah, playing with those people. Even if I see myself playing now, it gives me joy just seeing the way we play as a group. And I really miss that. You can imagine how hard it was during the pandemic, not being able to connect with these kind of people. Yeah.
That's great. So we are kind of a little bit short on time, but I still want to ask you questions about your early years being a child studying music. So your both parents are violinists, and they are classically trained violinists. They played with the symphony orchestra in Switzerland, and you take it from there where you started your piano lessons and the recorder lessons or something like that. Take us a little bit to the part where you were a teenager.
Yes. Okay. Of course. Yeah. Well, I started with 5, as I mentioned before, and in Switzerland, every child starts with the recorder flute. I don't know why that is, but it's like almost like mandatory. Like if you want to play music, you start with the recorder flute. So I had this recorder flute teacher who had a beautiful grand piano, and I remember my first lesson. I went in there, I took out the little wooden stick, and with one eye, I looked at this beautiful instrument, and I was like, "What am I doing? What is this stick? I want to play this." And then I said to her, I said, "Can I try this?" And she said, "Yeah, it's called a piano. It's a grand piano. You want to try?" And I said, "Yeah, I would like to try it." And from that moment on, I knew that's it. That's like I touched that instrument. I said, I want to play that. But at that time, my parents couldn't afford a piano. So I went for 2 more years into recorder class. But luckily, she always gave me half of the class piano lessons and half of the class flute lessons. And then when I was 7, we were at a friend's house and I played the piano. And then my parents were astonished. Why do you know how to play the piano? We don't even have a piano. And because of all those lessons, I already knew how to play. And that kind of gave them the intention to really give me a real piano. And then when I was 9, I started my real piano lessons with Rita Simonini. She was a great kids teacher, like specialized for kids. And that was really amazing. So I was 7 years with her, like classical repertoire. And then with 16, I really wanted to go to jazz, and I changed to Marcus Bischoff. He's a great piano teacher here in St. Gallen, this region. And what else would you like me to tell? Like how I experienced music as a child, something like this.
I remember when we met in New York, you were telling me how your parents didn't want you to study jazz. They were afraid, right? For you to not study classical or something like that. Maybe tell a little bit of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So as I said, when I was 13, I discovered Oscar Peterson, and I was listening Oscar Peterson 8 hours a day, and my parents got a little upset because they were both symphonic players, both violin in the symphony orchestra, and it was more like my dad. My dad really didn't enjoy jazz that time. For him, it was very alien. This music was very alien, and he was like, "Real music is classical music. Like, what? Like, why do you listen to this?" And my mother never opposed the idea, but she was more worried that I wouldn't be able to make a living. She was always like the voice behind who said, "Well, don't you want to do first like a real education? And it's funny that these words come from professional musicians, right? So you would think professional musicians would love their kids to become musicians as well, but they probably just wanted to protect me because they knew how hard it is to survive as a musician. And so then at the beginning, my father was really against the idea of me playing jazz, and now he's one of the biggest fans. Like he comes to every concert, he tells all his friends and family, So that worked out well.
Fantastic. Our next video is a clip from you performing in New York at Smalls Club, which is a well-known venue. Let's see that clip.
Thank you.
Great. And we have one more video, which is the ending of the performance. We already played the beginning of Claude and Dara Maroney performance of My Romance. Take a look.
Thanks.
Fantastic, Claude. It was so, so good having you. And
Thank you, Vera.
on Zoom. Through pandemic, we discovered Zoom, right? And a new way of communication.
That's true.
That's positive. Thank you so much for being with us today. It was really, really great, and wishing you all the best and all your endeavors coming up. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And of course.
Thank you, Vera. You too. You and your academy as well. Thank you for putting all this time and effort to help the young artists, to help young people to find their voice through your academy. This is really, truly amazing.
Yeah,
compliment goes to you as well.
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for watching. Have a good day.
Yeah. Bye-bye.